Hey, welcome to Film Fanatics. My name is Dan.
My name is Justin.
And I'm Joe.
And this week, the Film Fanatics official finale. We have just one movie to review, a big one in Logan. And then we'll just kind of share some memories with you guys of the 4.5 years we've been doing the show. So let's kick it off with that review. And Joe is going to tell us about Logan.
Okay. Yeah, I'll start off with Logan. Basically, you guys probably could guess it is about Wolverine. Clearly. And this takes place at some point in the far future. What timeline, we don't know. Wolverine, there's no longer any X-Men. He's getting older now. His healing is not working as well. It's kind of semi-dystopian. There aren't any mutants around anymore.
I read 2029.
2029. So it's like sort of near
future. A bit
future.
in the future, yeah.
A bit in the future.
A smidge, yeah.
With a little bit of social commentary here and there, of course, because it's X-Men. And it turns out that Wolverine's not alone, though. He has Professor X, now kind of sick as well, also on the verge of death, who is hiding out from the government. And some circumstances come along, and apparently there is a young mutant who, is X-23 in the comics, the younger version, who is a mutant that's very much like him, and is essentially, this isn't really a spoiler, his daughter. And he has to protect her and get her safe from various enemies to a safe place called Eden, which may or not actually exist, and preserve what's left of the few mutants that may be there, because of government conspiracy and X-Men are X-Men, stuff like that. So that's essentially the plot. Let's see. The big deal about this one that I think people would be praising it as is like the Wolverine movie we've always wanted. Now, what does that really mean? Now, if you asked me that, I don't know if I'd necessarily say that's 100% true, but if you mean we can actually see Wolverine really kill people in a gory way like he does in the comics, yeah, it's definitely Wolverine. It's not an X-Men comic book movie exactly. It's more full-on Logan. It's old man Logan. It's dark. It's gritty. There's a lot of violence here for sure. But the violence is definitely cool, I guess, in its implementation. But I think the strongest aspect of the movie is clearly you got Hugh Jackman, you got Patrick Stewart, know these characters in and out, and they really push the sadness on you. They play with a wide range of emotions, and they balance off each other really well. I think there's some really strong drama there for sure. And it does lead to a interesting culmination I think thematically works. And I think that's easily the strongest part, and the overall themes, the atmosphere, a lot of the action, it's good. Now, I'm curious to see what you guys have to say because this movie's been getting a lot of praise for that, and I think some of the nostalgia factors into it too. But I also think the story here is not quite as fluid as it could be. I think that the main idea is good, but you've got like 3.5 villains. You've got a couple jokes that you're not sure if they're really meant to be jokes, and sometimes the tone isn't quite right. Like, some people were laughing at stuff I thought was depressing in the theater, so I wasn't sure about that. But that was really my only main issue with it, is I think that in terms of story, it's not really doing anything new. I mean, it's kind of touching on ideas we've seen before with the Logan character. But, I mean, is it a good send-off, I think, for this version? I think I'd say so. I think it was pretty good. I did like it a lot. I don't think it's perfect, but for hardcore comic book fans, it gives you something you haven't seen before. There's definitely love here. There's definitely a lot of good art here, but I don't know if I'd say it's quite perfect. But what do you guys think?
Well, I think that a lot of this praise, being heaped on it is warranted. I think that, look, I'm the outsider from the beginning of this. I know the X-Men from the movies only. Mm-hmm. Joe obviously has an incredible working knowledge of the comics. Justin's got a good working knowledge as well. Mm-hmm. So for me, I followed this character through the movies only. Mm-hmm. And the first one, didn't really understand how bad it was until I spoke to comic book people. The second one I liked. The one where he goes to Japan. Mm-hmm. And this one, I thought was just great. I think it's one of the best X-Men movies that has been. I would say it's top 2, along with Days of Future Past.
Definitely.
I think why this movie works as well as it does is because of Hugh Jackman's dedication to this character. And Patrick Stewart's as well. Obviously, he's more of a side character in this film. Yeah. But obviously, we've seen Professor X, almost as many times as we've seen the Wolverine. And I think he really nails the emotion of this character in a way that we have seen in spots, but never seen on the whole. And I think here he does that a lot. This is the darkest Marvel movie I've ever seen, for sure. I think Marvel, a lot of times, if they're criticized for anything, it's maybe that their movies are too fun. And, the DC universe is too dark. But, I think this is a dark movie.
Yeah.
And not just because of the R rating, but just because thematically it's very dark. Now, as for that rating, I appreciate the gore factor and the action stuff and the killings. To me, the F-bomb seemed very, very forced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that took a little bit, out of the movie for me, just because, in Deadpool it was one thing. We expect this, the characters, jokes. Mm-hmm. But I didn't think it was necessary. You're going to get the R rating from the extreme gore. I know you want to please everybody because, hey, guess what? It's R-rated, so now we get to say F, too. But
it's true.
To me, that detracted a little bit from it.
Okay.
I thought the girl, did a pretty good job.
Yeah, she did a good job.
for being mute the majority of the film.
I have a bit of a caveat with her, but I'll let you finish.
I mean, that was, pretty much it. I think it hit a lot of right emotional tones. Mm-hmm. I saw it on a Monday night, Joe, so my theater was not that full, so there wasn't a whole lot of laughter going on. I laughed myself maybe a couple of times, but it wasn't...
Well, maybe it was partially the crowd, because some of the people I saw were laughing at points I thought were inappropriate, and I didn't know... I was wondering if, that some tonal issues there. I know you got to break stuff up.
There were a couple times when I thought, that was... I think supposed to be funny,
but I'm not sure.
I didn't think it was funny.
Yeah, that was one of my things. Like, does this movie really need too many jokes?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
maybe, but
I do feel that
should
way.
Make it a comedy, but you can still incorporate humor.
Yeah, I'd say give it some levity, but like I said, I think if you're gonna make it levity, not kind of this half joke like, oh, is he angry? It's funny. No, it's not. I don't know. So some of that stuff was a little bit weird for me, but that's relatively minor.
That's about what I had. So let's hear about it, Justin.
Tell me.
You want to start with the girl or just in general?
Oh no!
Since you mentioned her.
We'll cover the whole spectrum. But no, I mean, it's incredible going back all the way to 2000 and realizing that the X-Men franchise has been going on for almost 2 decades, and it's definitely a lot to reflect on and take it into full consideration. But I got to say, if this is one of, if not the final chapter, it's a pretty solid note to end on. I think X-Men Origins Wolverine is a nightmare. The Wolverine has a really, really good first 20 minutes, and then the rest is crap.
It was like okay. I think I gave it a B-.
I thought it was all right.
Yeah, it was all right.
I enjoyed it.
But I feel like finally their commitment to the R rating is really what they needed to get a solid Wolverine movie. That and the fact that at this point Jackman knows the character inside and out and could probably play it in his sleep.
That helps.
but no, I think that's really where it needs to be in the here and now. And as far as the story goes, it walks a very, very, very thin tightrope between not giving you enough information but still making it work.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know how all the mutants got wiped out. We don't know why exactly Logan's in the condition he's in exactly. We know they give you the reason, but they don't really explain the reason.
There's a lot of that in this movie. We tell you what happened without really telling you anything that happened.
Yeah. And to be fair, Days of Future Past kind of had the same problem, but for some reason I didn't mind it that much. Mm-hmm. As far as the humor goes, I think it was appropriate. I think it was trying to show that, like, even though this is a much more jaded, cynical Wolverine, he's also still got sort of that, like, sarcastic wit that we saw way back in the first X-Men movie back in 2000, which I respected. I think it doesn't always work, but I think a little humor is not necessarily a bad thing. Mm-hmm. My problem is I think there are points where it does drag a little bit here and there, not significantly.
It's a bit long.
But the length is felt in spurts. And as far as the girl goes, I actually really like the fact that she was mute. It's when she started talking and you couldn't entirely make out what she was saying half the time.
Yeah.
That it kind of became a problem.
Okay, but if you're mute for most of your life and then you start talking, you're not going to be the most intelligible person, I think.
That's true.
So that part didn't bother me just because that would be how it would be.
I think that since she was mostly conveying the emotions of anger and being the mini Wolverine, I think she did a pretty good job.
Oh yeah, no. In terms of being X-23, I think she did a good job. Mm-hmm. In terms of actually physically acting, verbally acting, kind of a mixed bag. Like emotions there, dialogue wise, not sure yet. Yeah. Jury's still out, but it's an 8-year-old and a newcomer to the franchise. So am I being a little too mean? I don't know.
I thought she was pretty great.
I would say yes. I thought she was fine.
For an 8-year-old, yeah, totally.
But no, overall, I think it was a fantastic installment to the franchise. If they go further with it, great. If not, what else is there to say? It's a solid entry. I'd say X-Men wise, it's probably top 3. But let's talk about the length, actually. How did you guys feel about it? Joe, I know you had some things to say about that from your initial reaction.
I definitely... The thing that surprised me about it is I went in thinking this is probably going to be like a 2-hour movie, and it was closer to 3. And I can't say that I really felt the length too much, but by the end of it, I was a little exhausted. Like, oh, wow, that wasn't a 3-hour movie. Did it really need to be 3 hours? I think they could have trimmed a few little scenes there. Like I said, a couple extra villains that they served to move the plot along. You really could have only had maybe one of them or 2 of them, not 3. I'm
okay with the whole villain thing. I mean,
I know it's not that important.
I assume you're referring to Guy and Reavers. Not a spoiler. You see him in the trailer.
Well, this is the thing. There's Hand Guy, who's introduced as the main villain. Fine.
Right.
You've got a representative of the government. No. Evil Scientist Guy. Okay.
More government.
Main villain. Okay. Evil Wolverine clone. Okay, this is going to be a big deal.
But he's more henchman.
He is more henchman, but symbolically...
Also a little confusing.
And the way they handled
when
him...
When he first shows up.
The climax, is it really as awesome as it could be for a Wolverine movie? I'd argue maybe not.
Oh, I liked that.
I was going to say, I'm fine with the way it wrapped up, actually. I know there's a lot of people online giving them crap for it. I'm like, seriously?
Well...
they hinted at this the entirety of the movie.
No, I'm okay with the ending.
He's talking about the final battle.
The final battle.
No. That's what I'm referring to as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they gave you a little bit of that. They could have given you a bit more. I think that it was some things were also very predictable. Like you kind of know what's going to be used to do what at some points. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
So I can't say I think that if I only had one real issue with it is I just feel like some things could have been fleshed out a little more, and I don't know if it's necessarily backstory or anything. Just I felt like the story was just so basic, For an X-Men movie,
I'm not sure if I agree with that. In terms of tension and actual consequences. P.S. Kevin Feige, please take notes. There needs to actually be legitimate stakes and casualties.
To be fair, this might be theoretically the quote last Wolverine movie. So if they want to make it final. They had more reins to here than in another franchise where there's a different mentality.
It has to keep going.
Yeah, where the actor says, I'm out. Okay.
Right.
We'll add some stakes.
As long as Robert Downey Jr. is going to don the Iron Man suit, they're not going to kill him.
Like I said, in terms of the character stuff and the themes and stuff, I think that it was well executed. I totally agree with you. That aspect of the story is great, and that's the strongest part, but I guess I like a little more plot sometimes, and I can't say this one doesn't have one, but I don't know. Maybe a little bit more about the program or a little bit more.
That's the thing I wanted to know more about. I didn't necessarily need to know the backstory, on why Wolverine is as sick as he is or whatever. Mm-hmm. I kind of wanted to know more about the program itself and, the ins and the outs and how everything happened. And we got some of that.
Little basic plot stuff that sticks out.
That was my question.
A special green drug that will work for the plot, except it kind of won't. It'll have some... I don't know. It was just... I wish that there would have been a few little things established, but I guess they figured, hey, this is the big movie. We're going to get our guys together and duke it out. Doesn't really matter, but for some reason the little details stuck out to me this time a lot more.
Yeah, I didn't mind the overall story. I thought that there could have been a few more pieces of information given, for sure. As for the length... I was actually all right with it. I mean, when you compare this to a 2 hour and 20 Avengers Age of Ultron movie,
It just keeps going
it's like,
and going and going.
you know, slog through.
Tedious.
No, I don't know. I understand it was a little long, probably longer than it needed to be by a good 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But, you know, while it was on, did I feel like, oh man, this keeps going? I didn't.
I mean, it's an epic story, so I can...
Yeah.
For the most part, I felt the length, but I could excuse it at the exact same time. As far as the exposition goes, I think for me, what kind of excused it, but also made it a bit more noticeable, is it keeps it simple.
Yeah.
But I also kind of like that. I like the fact that it's not trying to be this huge special effects extravaganza. It's much more grounded than your standard X-Men movie.
Yeah, it's more human.
Which is why I think it stands out a lot more.
No, you're right. That's definitely a big strength. I think the advantage I had was that there were some things I missed, like some minor plot points I just didn't get, because I think there were some minor sound issues too. So I did miss a few key details. So I saw it a second time.
Oh.
I've seen it twice. So, you know, the second time, I'm like, oh, okay, so that's what happened.
Okay.
That's why they're like this. Oh, so, you know, but even the second time, there were still a couple lines that are supposed to be like these crucial ones. I didn't understand what they were saying. Maybe when people are dying, and that bugged me. So I don't know if that was a sound issue or a theater issue, but I saw it twice and still missed some things, and I was paying attention. But overall, though, I think it was very good. But I'm not entirely sure if it's what I wanted.
Did you cry about it?
Some people that I was with were crying and getting really sad. I unfortunately, this actually leads into a question I wanted to ask you guys. I am I don't want to say jaded, but I'm a very seasoned comic book person. And the movies emulate... Jaded, a little jaded, because I know how it works. And the franchises, for better and worse, are emulating comics, which means this is the end, but it's not really the end. So, I mean...
do and don't agree. Like, yes, I get what you're saying. Like, okay, it's never really the end in comics, but movies still work differently. Dead is typically 9 times out of 10 dead with a few exceptions.
Justin, you said it yourself, though. If we're going by the big standard, which is Marvel, they're exactly like the comics. There's virtually no consequences.
Yes, Disney Marvel, not 20th Century Fox Marvel.
20th Century Fox Marvel has always been a little darker with the X-Men. I agree. There are a little more consequences. But the thing is, though, you know, Jackman says he's done. It's kind of the end of the era. It's a bookend to Wolverine, at least, possibly this version of the X-Men. I'm cool with that. But I'm always thinking in the back of my mind, X-Men's still big. They still want more money. A lot's open for sequels. I could see Jackman coming back.
Not to mention, this takes place in 2029, so you could do a regular X-Men movie that takes place now again and have Jackman back and better than ever.
Even doing like a camp. So I'm like,
so you never know.
And I will admit, if I took the movie in and of itself, you're right.
And I know Reynolds is trying to get him to do something with
Deadpool 2. You know,
which I don't know how to feel about, but
I mean, having fun. This time they were dark and gritty. They were trying to give a good send off to the character. I think it was well done. I'd be okay if it was the end, but I also know how comics work. I know how the movie business works now. Is it really fully the end? I don't know.
It's only up to Jackman.
It is.
Because I'm sure if it's up to the studio, they'll make 10 more.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
you know,
the problem with the X-Men franchise just right now is they've written themselves into like 10 different holes, and X-Men Apocalypse didn't help at all. So
hey, Joe loves that movie.
I did like it, but even so, yeah. The thing is, the truth is, I like the dark and gritty Logan movie, but I still kind of wanted to get the fun X-Men movies, which is why Marvel has to get them, because we still haven't gotten the best emulation of the comics. Really, we've gotten some great aspects of these movies, but they still never feel quite right to me.
Oh well, don't worry, Joe. We get Dark Phoenix again. Aren't you pumped?
No.
And rightfully so.
No, Dark Phoenix is overrated in the comics too, but it's well known, it's influential. Jean Grey, you gotta have her. I don't know. I'm open to anything. I just want Marvel to take the reins. Fox, you've had a good run.
No. No.
No, I want.
No. Feige can.
Well, he might not.
In the immortal words of Charlton Heston.
Maybe
get your filthy hands off the X-Men.
Well, like I said, it is different, but I don't know. I think I'd like to see.
Hasn't said that specifically. You might be paraphrasing.
A little bit. He's not wrong, but no, I think I'd like to see a fresh take. I'd be curious to see where they go, but I do think it would be wise to not recast Wolverine for a while.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think he's in the Bruce Campbell Ash camp. You cannot recast him. If you do, there's going to be war.
But then again, we've seen that change too. So I want to say you're right, but
I'm not sure what you're implying there, but
well, Tobey Maguire is the only Spider-Man. Nobody could ever touch him. Oh, Christopher Reeve, the only Superman. No one could ever touch him.
Okay, ordinarily I would agree. But Spider-Man 3 happened, and then Tobey Maguire didn't seem like the quintessential Spider-Man anymore.
That's true, but...
As far as the Christopher Reeve thing goes, I mean... I remember a little bit with it when Superman Returns came out, but I feel like most of us were like, we'd rather have a Superman movie than none at all, so...
Well, it depends on the character. I think it's how established it is. Like, obviously, most people would agree recasting somebody else's Iron Man would be...
Couldn't do it.
Ridiculous.
Not for about 30 years.
But to be fair,
really.
The advantage of something like Iron Man, not to get super off topic, but I guess...
That's okay.
It's the... Like
Marvel
we can go...
related.
Is that, I'm sorry, guys. We all... I mean, you might not know this, Dan, but Justin might know... Iron Man was not an A-list character before those movies.
You've told me that.
So like there were fans, but see Wolverine. I will be honest with you. The interesting thing about Jackman is he grew on me over time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like him initially.
Most comic book fans didn't.
Tall, skinny, kind of clean cut. It's not Wolverine. And as the movies go on, he is Wolverine. And in Logan, you get to see him really.
It's the only character I ever knew.
The exemplifier. Yeah. So,
I never watched the cartoon or anything, but I knew who Wolverine was.
And so that's why there was a bit of a struggle for him to work through, but he did a good job, and the evolution leading up to this point has been really good. But I think there's still possibilities for more stuff, whether or not with him or not. I'd love to see him back to do more stuff because I'm sure he could.
Yeah.
And I feel like, who knows? But
well, what is your grade for Logan?
I think it's a really good movie. I don't think it's perfect. I think they could have expanded on a few little things. Might run a little too long, and the tone might be slightly off, but still great story. Overall great characters, great acting, lots of gore and violence for the fans.
Yeah,
it's an A- for me.
Okay. Well, I did cry about it.
As did I.
So that that colors me a little bit. But yeah, I didn't have too many issues with it. I have to say. Again, I would say top two. Probably just right under that Days of Future Past. It's an A- for me as well.
Oh, wow.
And I gotta say, I left satisfied. Logan gets an A.
Wow.
Right, very good.
Cool.
Now see, that's why I wanted to end with Logan. There was some discussion a little bit about should our last show be Kong, because that's obviously another big release. Mm-hmm. But I kind of figured Logan would be better than Kong. We haven't seen Kong yet, so who knows, but
yeah.
I kind of wanted to end on a really upbeat... Not upbeat movie, but
a fairly
up note,
positive
note,
yeah, up note, great.
Yeah, exactly. So
good choice there.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it is the final episode here of the collective, and I don't know. I didn't really have any specific, ideas for
surprising
what we wanted to talk about. Well, Joe, you just kind of said,
4.5 years?
"Hey, let's riff a little bit." Yeah, listen, I spent 4.5 years Taskmaster,
we do this movie,
everything. So I just kind of thought, let's just wing it.
Cool.
So for me, one of the best parts of recording the show, not necessarily doing the podcast, but recording it was when we would kind of go a little bit off the topic, and sometimes I did have to edit some of that stuff out just because. Nobody wants to hear a 10-minute conversation on, the call, unless we're actually reviewing it. But, I kind of like those callback moments, especially for movies that no one has thought about in 3 years, but Film Fanatics crew. You've got your Face of Love.
Yeah.
You've got your God's Pocket, The Call, $1 Million Arm, McFarland.
Oh, man.
How far down does the rabbit hole go?
The Nut Job. There's
Nut Job. No, not on the last episode.
I gotta bring it back.
Reign of Terror.
Gotta bring it back. There's a whole slew of movies that were out of theaters before the podcast even went up because they were 1 week wonders. At the Cineplex,
something?
2 Guns.
That too. Episode 1.
That nobody talks about, but we kept the torch alive for some of these movies, for better or worse. I think it was mainly the movies that there were more spirited disagreements about.
Yeah,
that's it.
That were, and none of them were movies that anybody was like super passionate about. But it was just like...
That usually happens.
Memorable moments, more or less.
It wasn't like anybody gave, any of these movies an A or an A-,
That's a good point, actually.
Most of them were B's and C's.
A lot of the big arguments were never about stuff that, like, one person really cared about. It's like, okay, this movie is like...
slightly less mediocre than you think it is.
It's like, wait a minute, but, like, you think it's
mediocre. Or the
mediocre.
reason was off for, one person didn't like the other person's reasoning, so it's like
you think
wait,
it's
I thought it was
reason.
bad because of this. And
No. It's like, you understand. Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, thinking about it on the way here, I wasn't really sure, but yeah, just thinking about some of those movies that came to mind, like, just ones that I remembered. For some reason, in my mind, 2014 just came up with, like, a lot of different movies I remember us talking about, like, you had The Face of Love, An Enemy, Under the Skin, because going to the little Midtown theater here, there were a lot of good stuff that came out, and a lot of interesting discussions for sure.
It's funny. I gave 2014 a lot of crap when we were going through it,
but
in hindsight, it was kind of like the best and worst time for movies at the exact same time.
We talked about a lot of interesting stuff that year, though.
Yeah. Like, I can't say it was ever consistently good, but it was interesting.
Well, I think 2014 was probably about when we amped up the number of movies we were seeing. I think most weeks had like 4 to 5 new movies, and then we were still doing all the Oscar, the triple feature of new classic, old classic, and Oscar. Mm-hmm. So 4 to 5 movies a week, you're gonna see like 250 to 300 movies in a year. Yeah, you're gonna get a lot of iffy ones, or at least ones to talk about. That we were doing at some points 2 movies on DVD even. Yep. Uh-huh. So, which I think we can all agree was a bit much.
I've seen so many just boring and forgettable like Christian movies. Like I don't.
Oh yeah.
So many ones.
And you missed many of them.
And I missed many of them too.
Mom's Night Out.
And I wanted.
Let's bring that back.
I think I was trying to remember. I don't want to like be too negative, but I think a lot of my negative reviews were my funniest ones. And most memorable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt.
But I was trying to think, what's the first movie that I really hated on the podcast? And you guys can correct me. I think I know what it was.
There's so many, though.
That you really hated?
I
think it was I, right?
No, I kind of remember I is kind of a guilty pleasure for me.
True.
I Origins.
No, I Frankenstein.
I Frankenstein.
I feel like there's one before that, though.
I was going to say that in early 2014, I think it was, that first Hercules movie, not the Rock one, but the other one.
That's the Legend of Hercules.
I hated that movie.
That was bad.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, that was bad. That was that year in particular, because that was like Pompeii came out right around then.
Yeah.
I do think I Frankenstein was that same year.
I believe so. Yes.
And then Dracula Untold. Well, you like Dracula Untold. Me and Justin did not care for it.
I thought it was decent. Yeah.
But like there was that whole like 2 months where it's like every movie other than the Oscar holdovers from the year before
were so bad.
Were just terrible. And I think studios have gotten a little better with that ever since the Lego movie opened in February.
Right.
They were like, oh, we can put out good movies at the beginning of the year,
good
too.
Surprise, yeah.
And this year we've had a couple good ones so far, and last year did as well. But, yeah, boy, 2014, or maybe it was 2013. I think it was 2014, right?
2014 was Dracula Untold, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it was all those that you mentioned.
But, I think
Need for Speed, I think, maybe.
Justin,
yep.
Would you say Need for Speed was pretty great?
So painfully overlong.
Would you say that I Frankenstein's your favorite review of mine? Because I think it comes up a lot.
You do talk about that a lot. Joe's review of it.
There's a couple really good Joe goes on a rant spiels.
Because I think I mean, you guys can tell me if I'm forgetting any, but the one I remember a lot, like a movie that I should not remember to this day because of the trailer being so off to the movie being so ridiculous, was Runner Runner. You guys remember the Club Cuba
that was
hacker?
So early on. I don't remember. Runner Runner, though, you did hate. That would have been before any of the ones we mentioned. That was the first within the first month or two of the show.
That was the review I went like. Who was in that? Affleck and
Timberlake.
Yeah,
that classic combo.
Strangest team ups ever. But
yeah, that is true. I agree. Your negative reviews, I think, were some of your best because of your very passionate. Anger and hatred, and you're the podcast veteran here.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a radio background, but it's not doing stuff like this. Mm-hmm. You've been doing podcasts for years before Film Fanatics, at least 2 years.
Hold on, off and on, probably 2-3 years.
So you can rant and rave with with the best of them.
But it's not always negative. Remember?
No, not always negative.
Kubo,
That's Kent
the Kubo
Raves,
nature review.
ranting and
Remember?
raving. Yes,
You know, there
There's
could
an art to it.
be good ones. Yeah, I've always been really good at being flexible, and I'll admit a lot of times I would not write as much stuff. I just go off the cuff, but that's an advantage of just having done it so long. I can free throw things along and make it relatively interesting at least. Mm-hmm. But I think that was pretty cool for sure.
Yeah. What about you, Justin? Some of your favorite either moments or things that we
comes up a lot.
Yeah,
I mean,
recurring themes.
Magical
on the show.
movie fairies far and away.
I mean, for me, I think it's honestly a lot of the best stuff was actually were actually like the running gags that took place outside the show.
Yeah.
Like Magical Movie Pixies.
Which for a while I was cutting out of the show because I was like, nobody's going to understand what that means. But then they kept coming up, so I'm like, you know what?
Maybe somebody will.
I'll just leave it in, and nobody will get it for a little bit, but then we'll keep saying it, and then there was a few moments like that. Yeah,
Perditioned.
Perdition, which we then ended up doing half of a podcast about.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
CC, we can never explain the acronym, but
CC.
Yes.
But CC will forever live on in infamy.
Oh, yes, the cavalry upset.
No,
they know. That was the great, cavalry I did love. A lot on a particular episode.
And you screamed about it.
I was very happy.
And my favorite term for overly gorgeous locations.
Landscape.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But no, it's always been sort of entertaining seeing how those two components can sometimes play off of each other. Mm-hmm. What goes on when we're actually on the air, and what goes on when we're off, and how the two occasionally intertwine. And I think that really helped us bond as a team, but also led to some good airplay as well.
Well, we definitely got to really know each other and kind of almost suspect like what the position might be, and we could bounce off each other pretty well for some good conversations.
I'd say that's true.
It was a good mix, that's for sure.
Watching the old movies was interesting. We saw so many Oscar movies we never would have seen.
I feel like I didn't like a lot of those old.
A lot of them were not great,
personally.
But then we find every so often you find a Cellini in there that surprised everybody.
Yes,
it's always interesting to really see how far back Oscar history goes, and sometimes the same problems we're having nowadays being apparent all the way back to like 1930s. Like, okay, great performance, mediocre movie, and what have you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or just, what the Oscars thought was great in 1931 that would now, like a romantic comedy or something that oh my God, the Oscars wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole now,
True.
Nobody dies in it, or,
no
the Oscars love their
significantly less depressing.
Now. I'll tell you one of my favorite minisodes we did.
Okay.
Was the Robin Williams tribute episode. I thought we all had a really good top 10, a lot of kind of gushing memories of a great man, and he really, I think, in the Film Fanatics era, has to be the biggest acting celebrity that we've lost.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other ones.
He's definitely up there.
I mean, we've lost a lot of people certainly in 4.5 years, but Robin Williams not only was so huge and influential, I think, to a lot of us, but just such a surprise death as well.
Definitely.
It's true. Yeah.
So I definitely enjoyed that minisode.
I definitely have played fast and loose with getting Star Trek in here as much as possible.
True.
How many times have I brought
you've brought not only to the themed months incorrect titles, like a Star Trek 4 to comedy.
Yes.
Which was...
It was funny.
It's considered the comedy.
But then, bringing... When we were doing an early top 5, the best trilogies.
Yep.
And he says, well, how about Star Trek, what was it, 1, 2, and 3? Or something?
But then technically it was...
2, 3, and 4?
It's 2, 3, and 4... But, technically there's 6 movies in the original, and if you want to count the story, part 6 is kind of the closing, so it's a quartet.
And also you threw Indiana Jones in there because you don't count the 4th movie as a movie.
Yeah.
Joe played a little fast and loose sometimes with our
I mean, the one that will forever live on in infamy is the Supernatural top 5, which you didn't actually give us a movie, you gave us an episode of an anthology series.
Wait, what?
Which one was that?
Yeah, Dreams of the Witch House. That's an episode of Masters of Horror.
Oh, yeah. I think I thought it was a movie because I must have seen it on Netflix or
They
something.
did put those on DVD, though.
They did. And
I mean, not that they don't put, Roseanne Season 2 on DVD as well. But, so maybe that means nothing.
That might have been a mistake on my part. Like, yeah, that's a cool supernatural movie. I mean, TV shorts or...
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Whatever. Whatever. It's cool. It's cool. Check it out. Whatever that was. It was creepy.
Yeah. No mention of God's Not Dead so far, so I got to bring that up.
God's Not Dead 2.
God's Not
Never
Dead
ends.
lived on for long after it needed to.
Well, I loved it because of Kevin Sorbo.
I loved it because of Josh Wheaton.
Josh Wheaton.
His name was Josh Wheaton.
So...
I was very angry about that name.
But did you like his
I
PowerPoints,
was.
though? I liked the PowerPoints.
The PowerPoints were fine.
For a freshman.
Listen,
For a
I
freshman.
didn't have a problem with the PowerPoints. That was one of Justin's big sticking points of that movie, among many others.
Like,
the PowerPoints
as
for
far
me
as
were
problems
fine.
with the movie,
Yes.
the PowerPoints like on
Yes.
the little basket,
Yes.
you know. Like,
I agree.
but yeah, God's Not Dead. That's true.
God's Not Dead. The God's Pocket fight
debate
will
is
always live on.
Actually, I wanted to ask: do you guys think that was more intense between Justin and I, or would it be the Amazing Spider-Man one?
I think Amazing Spider-Man because it lasted so much longer and off air as well.
It was pretty
Because
heated.
it was the one night, and this was like a year after we even did the episode. Alex had come over to watch whatever the Oscar movie was.
Yeah.
It had nothing had anything to do with Spider-Man. Somehow Spider-Man came up, and you two were going back and forth on the couch, and me and Alex were just like, "What's even going on?" Like we were trying to watch the movie. So like, I would say that was definitely the more rage-heavy debate from both sides.
Look, my love of Spider-Man knows no bounds. I'm very passionate about it. Does that mean that I sometimes let it blind me with the red of the Spider-Man? Sometimes, but that's what that was about. I liked Amazing Spider-Man, but I admit that it has problems.
And that is a mini-sode that listeners, you can go back through
Yes.
our Film Fanatics list. It was the only old movie, until the Drunk Film Fanatics shows, that we've ever made an entire mini-sode for, because I had to edit like 10 minutes out of the regular podcast because it was like 22 minutes or something for the new classic of the week that usually took about 8 minutes because it was a movie that was 2 years old or whatever.
We know it all. But yeah, that was good.
So yeah, that was definitely interesting. The Drunk Film Fanatics ones we've done have been okay. Well, you guys don't get drunk enough. I'm such a lightweight. I get very drunk on those. And listeners, you can check out the one for Alien Resurrection that we just did, sort of as a closing feature. But I did mention on there, look, the channel's not going anywhere. I'm still going to be doing movie reviews. We're still going to get together to do the Star Trek reviews. I think Drunk Film Fanatics every so often should happen.
Yeah, I mean...
And one of these times, everyone will be sloshed, I think.
Well, I just would have to, focus on what I'm drinking. And
True.
Because I think maybe I got to prepare a little.
We need to do another one with, like, Great Gatsby, which we did off-air. But one of the rules was every time somebody said Gatsby, you took a drink. I don't even remember watching the last, 45 minutes of that.
I don't know. Burlesque Round 2 is pretty crazy.
Burlesque Round 2 is pretty
Yeah,
bad.
True. Well, I can always talk about Burlesque.
I don't.
But we've already reviewed that for the show, so I don't know if I want to do that. But
well, let's do.
Again, I guess we've reviewed Gatsby. You're right.
Yeah,
true.
That's true.
A while ago.
All right. Well, what else? Any other final thoughts?
What
a show it's been.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good
Certainly.
show. Went a long way. Do you guys remember the first movie I saw with you guys?
I do.
Let's see. Was it for the podcast? Or it was before the podcast.
I think it was
It was before.
A little
It was
before.
like 2 weeks before, actually.
I believe so. Unless Justin's got me, because I'm pretty sure I remember.
No, I know.
You do know?
I do know.
Okay, tell me.
Here at the house or in theaters?
No, theaters.
Here I know what it was.
Here
it
I
was
know.
Lawless.
Lawless was really
But,
good, yeah.
In theaters, I don't know.
Oh,
Well,
wait, I think I got it.
Okay.
Red 2.
That's right. Justin remembers.
Red 2?
Red
was the first
2.
movie you saw. We reviewed it on the show.
Yeah. Red 2.
The first episode, I guess.
Yeah. Pretty
Sorry.
early.
No. I was thinking it was like first here.
Here.
Yeah, here I know. I didn't know theaters at all.
Here it was Lawless.
Yeah, Red 2.
I've never seen it, but Shia LaBeouf was in it.
You gave it an A+.
Really hard. I loved it.
You loved it.
I thought it was really good. It was
Well, organized crime, so it was automatically like
Really?
great
Talking about Lawless with you, though, was sort of the impetus for me to invite you along to the show.
Yeah.
Because Justin and I were kind of already in the works
Yeah.
on putting something together.
Uh-huh.
And having you over that night and talking about Lawless and hearing how passionate you were about it, I thought, I think Joe would be a good addition.
Well, I'm glad because
I'm not sure if I even knew at that point that you did a YouTube show.
Probably.
I don't think I
not.
did.
I don't even know when you probably found out about it at some
I think
point.
probably when I invited you to do this one, you were like, "Oh yeah, I already do that a show. I'll come on to yours too."
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been pretty fun.
Yeah, it has been ups and downs for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but
Both on and off air, I would say.
considerably. But
Hard to do something this long and not have that.
Yeah, because it's
You know.
been a while. And we pumped a lot of shows out.
oh yes,
Yeah, listen, we were consistent every single week.
Yeah.
And even if one of us went on vacation, we did it a different day. We recorded 2 in a week and, just put it up. But yeah, I mean, we've done a show every single week for the last 4.5 years.
we have nothing to be ashamed of in that regard.
Yeah.
No,
So-
actually, it's pretty impressive.
And we actually just hit a milestone a week ago on our subscribers. We finally hit 150.
Yeah.
So
Well, hey,
Never gonna hit that 1,000.
going out on the high note.
it's a strong base. I'll say this much: we haven't lost many subscribers.
No,
which-
only a few along the way, really.
Which is, that is something to be said. It's a small fan base, but it's pretty dedicated.
I would say so, and we certainly appreciate everybody, that listened regularly along the way, and still continues to, and hopefully you'll stay with the channel afterwards and listen to whatever we put up.
We will miss you,
But,
folks.
Yeah, we definitely will. I mean, the show would be pointless to do
Without people listening.
anybody listening, so we certainly appreciate that. And around the world, too. We had some very interesting...
Germany.
from
Yep.
Germany and from, I think, India. And there's definitely been some interesting feedback from all over the globe, which was very surprising.
That was cool.
Definitely.
Stumbled
Yeah.
across it. And still, our most popular episode to this day, the Triple
Triple
X
X.
show.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. When we used to have clever names for the episodes.
Oh, yes.
The Triple X show, at this point, I think is above 10,000 views.
Check it again, man. I think
Is
it's like
is it 30
it's like
now or something?
70,000
Yeah.
views or
Oh
something.
my god!
I think it's our most
last time I
hated
checked,
episode.
a
Yeah,
couple years
it's
ago.
definitely more divisive. I think it has more dislikes than likes.
Yeah.
But
Well, because of what
Hey.
people expected from it,
but hey, there you go.
it did work. That's for sure.
Oh my
But,
gosh.
yeah. All right. Well, gentlemen, it's been a fun road, and listeners, we can't thank you enough for all of your support over the years, and we'll definitely be seeing you.
Yeah. And you can check out my channel, and I'm sure I'll be doing stuff
Yeah,
with
always.
these guys once in a while with various different things.
Yeah. Justin, final thoughts?
Well, I'm slightly disappointed you didn't go full on Titanic here, but
3.5 hour show, or killing myself around or on the side of the boat.
well, I mean,
didn't know what you
I
meant.
don't think you're going to get a propeller up here, sadly.
No.
But
You wanted-
the whole gentleman. It has been an honor playing. with
Oh, you're right. You're
That's
right.
good. That was a good reference.
That is true. All right. Well,
you. No.
you're right.
That's good. That would have been good.
No, I mean, for all the bumps, bruises, fights,
Yeah.
bonding moments, anti-bonding moments. I mean,
Anti-bonding. Yeah.
And Raymond Massey.
and Raymond Massey.
Yeah.
Can't go out without mentioning
Lincoln.
him.
Yes. Definitely go back to Lincoln.
I will definitely always be looking at this with a strong sense of nostalgia, and honestly, it wouldn't be if not for you guys and our dear listeners as well. So,
True.
if nothing else, all I can truly say is thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
agree.
very proud of what we did.
I am too. It's been fun, like meeting you guys and
Yeah.
getting
Bonding.
from people that have love for movies as much as I did, and being able to do a show like this is something I always wanted to do. So it was a really cool experience. I made 2 really good friends, and we actually made something together that lasted so long and was pretty good, pretty professional. And
I agree.
I had a lot of fun times, honestly, with it. It was a good experience. So don't regret it at all. It was very cool. So it's the end, but not completely the end. It's
No.
it's like Logan,
Wow, bring it back.
If it's gonna end, you got to make sure you've at least
Hit a few marks.
you've hit most of the marks and you've resolved what you wanted to resolve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't just want to stop abruptly.
No, I agree. I think that we're ending it on a good note.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've pretty much said all I had to say. So, for one last time, bye.